You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck. Everything on Twitter. He talked today to Auburn Athletics News as Auburn is now 3-0 on the season after their win over South Alabama yesterday in a game that I want to say like a little mixed bag of emotions going towards it. I think overall it is a good win over a good G5 team, but there's a lot of parts of this game where I think Auburn left a lot to be desired. Now, just going into initial thoughts of this, because Auburn able to get the win 31-15. Overall, I mean, I think that this again, I think it stands out as a decent win, but I do think that there was something missing from what we wanted to see from Auburn in this game, and that being a more developed looking offense. Of course, this is the last game we get to see before next week you go to Norman. And you play against Oklahoma and John Mateer. Defensively, again, same old. I think the front seven did very well. I think the offense did not do I think the secondary did not do very well. The offense, I think, was very efficient and got things done. But there were some issues that I saw that are going to cause some issues down the line if they do not get fixed. So what I do want to go is kind of just go through my pros and cons of this game, and then I'll give my grades. First off, again, I think the offense was very efficient, but I think the play calling was extremely vanilla. I think that, you look at what we saw from Auburn, how they're able to develop over the course of the game and every other game so far. I don't think there was that step forward that we saw from last week or against Baylor. I think Auburn just had a game plan, and it was to kind of play it safe going in before they go into SEC conference play. So I look at this game, and I look at Jeremiah Cobb. I'm going to give him a lot of credit in this game. Another 100-yard game for him. I think he has done extremely well in his increase in snaps that he's been getting ever since Damari Alston dealt with that shoulder injury against Baylor. I think Jeremiah Cobb could go into the Oklahoma game as the RB1. And I think you could also have the conversation of him going into the remainder of the season as RB1. I think Damari, again, has his own strengths and weaknesses that, Jeremiah Cobb also can have as well. But I think in a playmaker sense, I do think that Jeremiah Cobb does have that advantage. But on the other hand, I think Damari gives you a lot more as a blocker than Jeremiah does. But I was very pleased with what I saw from Jeremiah Cobb and his ability to make bursts and get an open space. And, of course, I always doubted him in the slightest bit when it came to running the ball up the middle and making plays, whenever they needed a power runner out of him. And I think he has done extremely well doing that in these 2 or really 3 games we've seen of them thus far. So you continue doing that. I think Jeremiah Cobb does go into the remainder of the year as the starting running back. But again, Damari is not going to, lose any snaps. I think it becomes more of a balance. Whenever Auburn needs to pass and they need an extra blocker, you're going to see more Damari. But I do think when it comes down to playmaking, I think you got to give the edge to Cobb there. But now I'll go back to the vanilla offense. The passing, it did not look very developed. It was efficient. It was very efficient. I think go to the stat sheet here. Look at Jackson Arnold. There we go. Sorry, I was watching NFL football all day. And, not the game he had last week where, he threw for 200 yards in this game. Or last week, sorry. I just had some kind of beeping noise going on in my headset. Jackson Arnold, 13-24, 142 yards through the air, and a touchdown, completion percentage of 54%, passer rating of 117. Now, again, I do think it was another efficient game out of Arnold, but we did not see a whole lot. We saw, a safety blanket game to where, you don't want anyone to get hurt and you don't want to show too much. And really, someone said this while I was on the War Report yesterday after the game, where and something I could believe in, if it just kind of depends on the Auburn we see versus Oklahoma. And it's like Did Auburn only do what they needed to do to win this game? That way they don't put too much on film for Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma knows Auburn will run the football. In this game, Auburn had 39 attempts on the ground, and, I mean, they've been doing that the past few games. And, again, I think when you look at Auburn as a team right now, it is a, a run-the-ball team. It does feel Auburn is more keen to running the football than they are passing the football. We've not seen the developed passing attack that we were kind of all expecting to see going into the season. But again, that doesn't mean this passing offense is without its strengths. I think Eric Singleton did an extremely good job, caught 6 of his 7 passes in this game for 65 yards, made some great plays, and again was the playmaker that Auburn recruited him to be. Cam Coleman getting his first touchdown of the year in Cam Coleman fashion, catching it over a man. Also had 2 catches on 4 targets for 49 yards. And I have to add the targets here because I got a whole other point for that. Horatio Fields, 2 catches, 20 yards on 3 targets. Omar Mabson had himself a catch for 7 yards. Perry Thompson had a catch for 4. Bryce Kane had a catch, lost some yards on a screen pass. And then Preston Howard, 0 catches, 4 targets. Now, drops were an issue in this game. It was a big prevalent issue in this offense yesterday morning. Sorry. You can't have this in the remainder of this season. I mean, you could probably get away with it versus Mercer, but no other team on your schedule is going to give you leeway with these kind of drops. Preston Howard had a couple of terrible drops that, a tight end cannot have. Whenever it comes down to a tight end having drops, that's an issue. The tight end is supposed to be your safety blanket, your check down machine. Here's a guy who can give me an easy 3 to 5 yards off of catching the football and securing it and getting down. Preston Howard was not doing that. There was a touchdown pass to be had yesterday that Preston Howard had in both hands and dropped. And here's the thing. I'm not saying I'm an athlete. I am not. I am the furthest thing from an athlete. Believe me, if I tried to run a slant route, I'd be out of breath by the time the ball got to me. See, that's what I'm saying here. But I know for a fact that if I'm that open and the quarterback is 3 yards away from me and he basically tosses me the football, I'm going to catch that. I'll catch it 9 times out of 10. I'll even say 10 out of 10. I'll catch it 10 out of 10 times. Because that pass is so catchable. And, you already have the drops at the beginning of the game. And it comes down, and there's a couple people trying to come up with ideas for what Auburn can do here instead. And, I mean, Brandon Frazier, I think, has done enough to prove that he can make catches like that and secure the ball when he needs to. Of course, he's not your playmaker. He's not going to wrap someone up. But, I mean, he can run a curl. He can run a little out route. He can run I won't say run a slant. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background. But you got to give people chances who can secure the football. Now, I know Cam Coleman had some issues with drops early in the game. He had that one slant route. And, I'll give him some leeway on that. He got rocked on that play. So I think even had he caught the football originally, it would have got knocked out anyways. Horatio Fields had a very bad drop as well. And you're going to see me – if you see me looking down and watching the Panthers game, I have an issue to where I have to suffer and stress out over Auburn football on Saturday and then stress and cry about Carolina football on Sundays. So Panthers just got a onside kick. That's why I kind of did that for a little bit. But you have to catch the football. You have to if you're a tight end. And you got to look at some other – outlets here. You got to give Horatio Fields those targets in the red zone if Preston Howard is not giving you the opportunities there. You need to give Perry Thompson those chances. You got the big body receivers too. Ryan Gehe, I know he had a drop against Ball State, but it was like his first ever pass to him. There are tight ends on this team that can make those catches. And I know Preston Howard's recruited here to replace the production Auburn had out of Rivaldo Fairweather last year. And, Preston Howard didn't have that many passes thrown to him at Maryland, but it was his strength. He's a receiving tight end. He's not been receiving the football very well. And those drops are egregious. There was one where you can consider it a drop. I don't know. I don't think the stat broadcast counted as a drop, but he slipped on the field. He ran a little curl route and slipped on the field, and the ball went right over his head. I think it might have been on third down. You can't have that. As a tight end, you are the security blanket for the tight end, for the quarterback. You are who the quarterback is looking to whenever they need to get an easy few yards. And a first down was what Auburn needed. And he slipped on the field and missed the catch. And the other one was just absolutely egregious. The touchdown one was terrible. You can't have that. Auburn had a drop issue earlier in the game with almost everybody. I mean, Cam Coleman had that one. Horatio had that one. But Preston Howard, again, 4 targets and 0 catches. And they only counted one as a drop, which I think is absolutely insane. After that, you got to fix those issues going into Oklahoma. Drops are not going to be something you could overlook in this game versus Oklahoma. You were going to have to catch the football, or you need to get off the field and give someone another shot. That was awful. During practice this week, I really hope Preston Howard is out there with the jug machine and he catches like 100 passes before practice and after practice, and then he does the same thing every day of practice until the game. And even then, you might want to go out there with a jug machine before the game. Just to make sure. You cannot have those issues. Again, I'm seeing out Preston Howard just because his were the most egregious, but there've been a few drops this season that have been worrisome. But I mean, Cam Coleman's, again, I think he was about to get rocked on that play. So I'm not gonna be too upset with that one. But you got to make catches when Auburn needs them to. You got to make catches when Jackson Arnold needs you to. You got to make those catches whenever the team needs you to. Whenever it's first down, second down, third down, fourth down, got to make those catches if you want to win the football game. Now, going to the defensive side of the football, things Auburn did very well. I think the front seven still played a very good game. Now, on the flip side, Auburn did give up the most rushing yards of the season thus far. Of course, only 3 games to go with. Gave up 140 yards on the ground to South Alabama. But here's the thing. South Alabama didn't diverge from the run game. They still had like 40 carries in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they wanted to run the football, 42 carries on this game. But Auburn held them at 3.3 yards per carry. They had 4 guys running the football. Kentrell Bullock, again, a very good running back that Auburn held to only 16 carries and 50 to 57 yards. Like, Auburn did a great job of containing their run game. So, very pleased with what I saw from the front seven. And also, shout out to one Kieron Crawford, able to get an interception. The first interception of the year for the Auburn Tigers. So, big shout out to him. Was hoping to see it from a defensive back, but yeah, that didn't happen. The secondary played awful. The secondary looked bad. And I'm looking down the stretch. I think Gunnar Stockton did a great job versus Tennessee. I mean, Taylon Green is an absolute monster to deal with. John Mateer is a Heisman candidate. Marcel Reed is an absolute monster. Auburn's got some quarterbacks to worry about going down the stretch of this season. And what I saw from the secondary and what these quarterbacks have been able to do versus Auburn has been extremely worrisome. Caleb Harris got caught looking in the backfield, gave up a touchdown pass. Kyan Lee had one where he, was playing too soft of the coverage and gave up the inside, and the wide receiver took it like 20 to 30 yards down the field. You can't have that. And of course, there was an pass interference called that I don't agree with on Kinsley Falston. But regardless, Bishop Davenport, I mean, I gave him some credit. I think he was a very good down the field passer. I said that on the pregame show. The way he played against Tulane was very well. But my thing was, Auburn's better than Tulane is, and he was able to dot up Auburn left and right. 18 of 26, 170 yards. I mean, he didn't have like a Heisman candidate day, but he still was able to find plays down the field to extend their drives because the secondary was just playing soft. I mean, tackling, and when the ball gets to the second level, I don't know when he's going to get tackled because I don't. Jacquez Robinson can lay some hits. We know Sylvester Smith can, but Sylvester Smith also got routed up and gave up a touchdown. But good Lord, you cannot let this happen against Oklahoma. I mean, you're talking about the wide receivers on offense need to stop dropping the ball, and the DBs need to stop dropping the ball in coverage too. I mean, that was the bad part of this game. But yeah, I go forward to special teams. I think Kane did well on his one return that he had. He it was kind of a little trick play that I did enjoy, just strictly because you don't really see Auburn do any trickeration stuff on special teams. So that was a pleasant surprise. I didn't get a touchdown out of it, but regardless, I think seeing more Bryce Kane does work out very well for Auburn. Auburn only punted the ball twice, which is nice. And then again, I got to show some love to Alex McPherson. Still love seeing him get opportunities out on the field. Love seeing that he is, on the road to being at full strength, hopefully. So yeah, keeping him in my prayers. So Alex McPherson was on pace to break every record before this tragedy happened. But yeah, those are my special teams. I will say some other big things to talk about in this game. Penalties. Auburn was not being stupid the majority of the time. They were only 4 penalties in this game. I think like the last 2 games they had 8 in each game. I think it was 9 against Baylor. A cleaner game. No turnovers, which again, never be mad about not having turnovers. Something C-Dub said yesterday that I had him repeat because it's so nice to hear. Auburn is 3 games in and not a single interception has been thrown, which is a beautiful, beautiful stat to say because I could scream from the mountaintops. Auburn has gone 3 games and not thrown an interception. I think by this time last year, Auburn had like 9. So I don't think it was. It was definitely 4. I think New Mexico might have been in between that and Arkansas, but by next week it was 9. But yeah, nice to hear those stats out loud. I'm a little worried about the injuries. I know Damari was dressed and could have played, but they were just kind of holding him out. Malcolm Simmons did not play in this game, so I think he was also dressed for a bit. I think he got dinged up against Ball State. Same thing with Rashawn Pleasant. So those 3 didn't play. Jay Crawford came out of the game after he got hurt. So hopefully he's going to be good for Oklahoma. Again, we cannot have anybody out or down against Oklahoma. And, of course, Morris Williams also got hurt in this game as well, which did leave for more Jared Smith. So it's not hopefully Morris is back, but it is good to know that if Morris is out for next game, at least Jared Smith can step in, and I don't think there's a big drop off from Morris to Jared, who also made a great play, forcing a fumble that could have made this game a whole lot closer than it was. But yeah, great plays all around. From the front 7, I think that's a big highlight of this year, just how good the front 7 has been. But if you're Coach Crime Dog or Durkin, you got to be looking at your secondary during the film studies this week. You have got to get something figured out before you start playing these pass-heavy attacks that are going to embarrass you and make you look stupid and silly and, give up touchdowns and lose football games. Because I got to be honest with you, Missouri looks a lot better than I gave him credit for. Arkansas looks better than I gave him credit for. And yikes if they are. And against Vanderbilt also looks a whole lot better than I gave them credit for as well. So got to get those issues fixed going forward. Now, going to my grades, I meant to have them ready for this, but I did not. Offense grade, I'm gonna stick with what I had last week, which was a B-. Again, efficient day, passing the ball, running the ball, but again, the drops hurt a lot. So the drops are going to drop you a lot here, but I'm going to leave it at a B-. I might go B. I'll say B+. B+ game for the offense. Just got to fix those drops. Defense is going to get a B-. The secondary looked awful and dropped the average score of the defense. So again, it's a B-level game for Auburn, which is I'm not going to be too mad about it. A win is a win. You got a big win versus a very good G5 team, a team that, South Alabama could win the Sun Belt and are probably up for one of those spots in the playoffs for the G5 spot. Offensive player of the week for me, back-to-back weeks for Jeremiah Cobb, 19 carries, 119 yards, a touchdown, average 6.3 yards per carry. Not going to go wrong with that. I think Cam Coleman would have been my backup here for his touchdown grab. Yeah, Jackson Arnold, efficient day. I think the offense itself was just a little lackluster in his play calling, so that kind of left it for Jeremiah Cobb to get it again. And then defensive player of the week, got to give it to the guy who got the interception here in Kieran Crawford. First interception of the season goes to an edge rusher. So it's going to stick with the front seven yet again. But yeah, you got the secondary has got to get fixed. I kind of just go into what's next for Auburn. Front seven is going to be able to help shut down what already has been a very lackluster rushing attack from Oklahoma. I don't think there's really been a standout performance out of them at all. But the passing game is going to be the stressor here. Offensively, hopefully we've seen I don't want to say the worst of this offense, but definitely, hopefully I've seen there's more to this playbook than what I've seen. That's what I'm really hoping for, and I think that could be truthful. I just think that Auburn is going to have to start putting more on the field in terms of, the route trees, the formations, the movements. But again, you're 3-0 going into week 4, which, I had this predicted. I'm glad that Auburn has found ways to win these football games and not dropped a stupid one. Of course, 2 years ago, Auburn was dropping a game to a very good G5 team. So you take one down and you get ready for conference play next week. Of course, throughout this week, we'll be talking about the Oklahoma game. It's out of probably some of the biggest storylines going into this year, just because the return to Norman for Jackson Arnold, of course, Brent Venables and Hugh Freeze, two coaches who are now ranked after, being on the hot seat going into this year. And of course, can't forget the fact that, Auburn did move up in the rankings to number 22. I hate the game day didn't choose this game or any other game. I will say SEC wise, Florida, a lot worse than what we thought. Texas, quarterback situation is a little yikes. A little worried for Georgia's offense, but I think their defense does, if Auburn can keep developing this offense, I think Auburn could do some damage against Georgia's defense, but it's all about stopping their offense first. But yeah, going down the line, I think the SEC is wide open for everybody. Don't sleep on Tennessee to find their way back to the spotlight. And again, I think that there's no way to determine who the best team in the SEC is right now. Rank-wise, it's LSU, but even then, LSU has not looked unstoppable. So yeah, SEC is very interesting this year. Very, very interesting. Before we go, let me know what you think in the comment section below about this game. What are your grades for Auburn? Do you give their offense an A, B, C, D, F? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. E for effort. Let me know what you think of the new logo. I did update the new logo a little bit, adding a little basketball around the edge. That way, we're never going to stop talking about basketball on this show. So, as we get ready to leave, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Getting so very close to that 1,000 subscriber margin. Just 39 subscribers away. So, thank you all for tuning in to the College League Podcast. I'm going to get out of here. I'm Dylan Larck. IUboytank on Twitter. Also, come on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLNLARCK. And of course, find the College Loop literally everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works. All visit the College Loop. Check us out right here on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Yet again, cannot overstate that enough. With that being said, thanks for tuning in to the College Loop Podcast. And as always, War Eagle.